Yeah, we should. So, right now we're listening to, this is She. And this is Shanghai Community Radio. Welcome everyone. We're getting started. Hi y'all. This is our first episode of MegaMix. MegaMix is a, hi, I'm Katie. I'm here. Joined here with Difan. As always, if you don't know Difan, then you don't know what's up. Difan is been on this project since the inception. Also, we have Sam in the studio as well, who is our audio engineer / head master of chill. Chilling hard right there. I will be somewhat hosting today, but also we're joined in studio by these lovely people here. This is Kira and Shaonan, who we work with quite closely, so just full transparency. These are all a self-referential show for the next hour. We're going to be talking a lot about arts, because we love art. We're going to be talking about radio, non-for-profit, how to run one, what is China Residencies. We'll be talking about Art Week. We're talking about radios themselves. We'll be talking about our radio. We'll be talking about community. And we'll also be listening to some music relevant to all these projects. So hope you tune in. Please feel free to leave some comments on Bilibili. If you're listening live, if you're listening to the archive, enjoy. Woo! All the woo girls in the place. Yeah, let's give a little, let's see if I can move the camera. We're joined by a lot of friends here who may or may not join in later. Okay. So, let's get started. I want to first, let's go back to Kira and Shaonan here. Behind us, we have a new article of LEAP that Shaonan has been working on about the intersection of art and technology. No, I'm just kidding. It's a bit about nightlife and art. And this issue of LEAP magazine launched during Art Week, is that right?
Yeah, a few days ago.
A few days ago during Art Week.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like to mention that Kira is also in town for Art Week, or is that true or not?
Sort of.
Okay. Do you want to explain why you're in town?
I am in town. You all people are so lovely. No, I'm here to do our regular checkup on all the different residencies we work with. So we started in Beijing. We're doing a screening of transoceanic visual exchange, the art films from the Caribbean and from China. And then I'm here visiting you all people and 5 or 6 other spaces we work with here. And we're going to Lanzhou and then down to Xiamen, where our residents can be part of the 3 Shadows. Jimei, and then back to Beijing. We're doing screenings again. So yeah, doing the rounds.
So you're here for your own film and then also for China Residencies. Yeah. So maybe we can talk a bit about what is China Residencies and just a quick overview for people who don't know.
Wait, are you doing this in English or
however you want. Yeah, just we're gonna kind of let things flow in any language that you feel. Both languages can be translated, not translated, tangential, however we want. But go for it, bro.
Show of hands. Who wants what?
Yeah, try. I want to hear. I want to hear you introduce the project in Mandarin, please.
All right. China Residencies 就是中国艺术交流是个平台。本来是13年开始的，就是一个网站，关于国内有什么艺术空间和音乐空间，就是想跟国外的艺术家开始有交流。然后我们一开始的时候就是在北京好像那时候就是12个地方，就是有重庆的那个气空间，下面那个 重新，然后好几个就是都是独立艺术家开始做这些很自由的一些艺术空间，然后慢慢发展一些跟澳大利亚、德国、英国也是尼加拉瓜、库巴、伊朗这样的一些交流，就是艺术家从伊朗来到重庆，然后重庆的艺术家去Tehran 这样。What else do you want to know?
I think that was amazing.
Yeah, that
At some points, I thought you were speaking French, but
I have a really bad French accent, Chinese. I apologize for my very
those.
no.
I pulled up here as well the website.
Yeah, so if you click on residencies,
Okay,
up
let's
top.
do that.
Go, top, back up.
Like I'm doing
Yeah, there's a bit of a
weather
lag.
reports.
We're gonna let's point on that.
Tomorrow
Okay, scroll
is-
down. Then see that thing where it says all? If you click on that, no, go back up.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
other way.
Oh, this one. All. I see.
Yeah. I'm gonna move my head. Click on that thingy, the drop down
Yeah,
menu.
it's just slow. It's coming. Or is it? I see it on my computer.
Give it a sec. So that's
Um,
all the cities. No? Is it not working?
Maybe because it's a pop-up, it doesn't like recognize it.
Um,
But let's see
well,
what's in
scroll-
Dongguan.
Dongguan is a really cool residency started by Li Jinghu.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically at this point, we work with almost 50 different programs all over the country. Some are in museums, some are in clubs, some are online. We have a residency inside our Instagram account for people who ride slow trains across the country and want to tell stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really nice. Yeah, so Kira and I, just a bit of background, we met how long ago? Like 3 years ago now?
Like a
4?
decade ago, back in early Basement days.
Yeah, so this is a friend of mine from Basement 6, which was an old project that we all kind of worked on together, and she was the godmother giving us guidance and positive vibes only for a while when everything was basically just shit. But so when we started Shanghai Community Radio, I reached back to her, and she has been really helpful. Actually, the platform itself has been super helpful in like guidance, managing grants and stuff that we'll talk about later. And now you're in town from New York.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, one thing that we started doing about 3 years ago, I'll do this admin talk in English because it involves money and things, but we started this thing called fiscal sponsorship, which we borrowed from the film world, where I also produce documentaries. And it's this thing where when a new project starts, instead of every single group going and like registering their own nonprofit, which is a ton of paperwork and a lot of admin stuff, you need to register a company and everything, we as a nonprofit can kind of loan our nonprofit status and then teach other people what we learned in this almost 7 years of doing this, when it comes to like how to do budgets, how to handle money, how to plan, how to fundraise, and all of that. So early on, we created this program to nurture these amazing collectives coming out of New York. So like one is Bufu, which is a project that started around Black and Asian solidarity, and then now has expanded to just being an amazing project that's supporting all kinds of young artists and filmmakers in New York. Another group called the Yellow Jackets Collective that throw really amazing queer Lunar New Year parties, and we've sort of realized that they have this amazing energy and they're doing all this stuff, but you know, the only thing that's missing for them to be really sustainable and being able to continue is just like really boring admin stuff. Like, how do you budget? What do you price your ticket at? How do you like not run out of money? How do you pay yourself? So we kind of become these like mentor financial coaches and just like cheerleaders for whatever they're up to. And so yeah, when you all started, I was like, join the club if you want this kind of support.
Yeah, it's super helpful in like in terms of like having autonomy, but also guidance, because no one really teaches you how to do this kind of stuff. And of course, we still don't know what we're doing, but
You're learning so fast.
see, this is what I mean by stepmom. When I said she's our stepmom, definitely like you're doing great, sweetie. Kind
Keep
of
at
things
it.
going on. But China Residencies has hosted a lot of interesting projects, and like more recently in the recent years, y'all started this thing called the Nightlife Residency, which I feel like is like the first of its kind.
I hope. I mean, it's a collaboration that started in Beijing. We were talking, we realized that a lot of the most interesting artists these days were doing stuff in clubs, in art stuff, in music, in fashion, but that the art people were only supporting like the objects they were making. The club people were only supporting them as like DJs. The fashion people only wanted their picture, but no one was like holistically supporting everything they were doing.
Yeah.
So with this residency in Beijing called iProject Space, it's an amazing club called Chadai in Beijing, and a bunch of other amazing people like DJ Asian Eyes. They had originally hosted Juliana Huxtable for a little bit, and we were talking with her about like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a long-term support, like 3 months, come and do whatever you do, and we'll support whatever you want to do. And thinking of artists like Korokwe and Damchai, even people here that Shaonan wrote about, like Changshan, who are really kind of like thinking way bigger. It's like about a collective, it's about parties, of course. Also like an artist from Shanghai, Tang Jixin, like they've really been like, okay, if you invite us, we're taking everyone with us. We're throwing a rave, we're doing tattoos, we're having a party. Like this is all part of what we're up to. And yeah, we really wanted to encourage that kind of work and support it as much as we could. So we did an open call, got I think 300 something applications the first year. And then yeah, like the whole point was just like, we're gonna pay for everything. We're gonna pay your flights, we're gonna pay your housing, you're gonna be supported, you're gonna have a stipend, and then you're gonna have 3 months where you can make whatever you want, play some club nights if you want, travel if you want, and we'll try as much as we can to connect you with people who can help. And yeah.
How'd it go?
Amazing. The first resident, Soraya Lutangu, who goes by Bonaventure, is phenomenal. You all should check her out. Big plug to Soraya. Maybe you can play some of her
Bonaventure
tracks.
Let me try and find.
She's like such an amazing, wonderful person. And after the residency, she got signed to Discwoman. She's been touring all over. She's been doing all kinds of amazing collaborations worldwide. Yeah, shout out to Bonaventure. She's the best.
And Shaonan, you were working on that specific residency with Bonaventure, right?
The second one.
Year 2.
The second one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Fatisha, from India, and
Right.
Yeah, usually with kind of with normal residency, you never really get to invite someone from India, because usually it's kind of like funded by cultural organizations of a country. So yeah, so that was the first time, I think, right? Project Space had an Indian resident artist. And then
Wow.
also,
So mostly it's European people,
yeah, mostly I think.
or
I mean,
like
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Not with us, because we make sure that our open calls are wide open, but a lot of times the money is tied to people's passports. So
Yeah.
if you're, I mean, and this is worldwide, the artists who get to travel tend to be like Swiss, Dutch, French, whatever. But if you look at the artists that we've supported, actually, if you go back to the other tab, you can pull up the alumni bit, which is everyone we worked with.
Okay.
And it's amazing artists from, Nicaragua,
Is it artist tab?
Bulgaria. Go to, let's navigate this.
Yeah,
web
please.
map.
I love it.
So ChinaResidencies.org. There you go. Go to artists on top.
Yeah. Okay.
And
This
that's-
2015 laptop is like, or 13.
Hang in there.
Yeah, bruh. But you can keep going while this bitch loads.
While that loads. Hey, be nice. Yeah, so I think we've kind of, it's been wonderfully all over the map. Oh no, 404.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fadesha was the second Nightlife resident, and Shaonan was amazing at really making sure she got to meet everyone and work on a really cool project.
Yeah.
Talk a little more about.
Yeah, I love the research. Just to the club, taking her to the different clubs and around Beijing. That was,
Oh, I
yeah, it
see
was
you.
fun actually. It was also
So where'd you go when you take someone to the clubs in Beijing?
Jiaodai, of course. A lot of nights.
Yeah.
spent
Shout
at
out.
Jiaodai. And then,
Can we say who's in the studio right now?
Yeah.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Whoa, straight from
Go
Beijing.
Chi, go Carmen.
Yeah.
What's up? Post it up. Yeah, sick. So you took her to Jiaodai.
Mm-hmm.
That was when it first opened, right?
No, it opened for a while. It opened, for
It's been like a year, right?
almost.
I still never been. I hear a lot of really good things.
What?
Yeah.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It's a good family community vibe.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then just also different smaller venues in Beijing. I mean, Dada, of course, and then just showing her around, connecting people, and then so I think there were projects after, right? I think Slow Cook was doing an exchange with Delhi, and then
Oh, really?
well, I'm not sure.
When
Yeah.
her whole project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With because Fadesha was.
Hello.
Who are you?
So, hello, I'm Carmen. Hello. So yeah, basically, Slow Cook is one of our residents, and she does this amazing project called Equalizer, which is like a community based on like queer, non-binary, female DJ workshops and parties, and that was really resonating with what Fadesha is also doing.
Yeah.
So they've been hooking up a lot and working together a lot, which was really nice because I think for Fadesha, seeing that something similar is going on in Beijing, as well as what she's doing in India, was really cool. So like now they've been in contact and there's like this exchange going on, which is really the core value of it all, right? So yeah, that was really nice.
That's super sick. So y'all I think you're basically like the central facilitators of all this, right? All this is just like networking on top of networking and branching out and
Everyone
hooking
to
up
know each
everybody
other.
to each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, somewhere on our mission statement, early on, Crystal, the friend I started with this with, came up with the idea that diplomacy shouldn't just be up to politicians, and that the people who should be able to travel and make connections is actually, us, not just the people who have like super rich parents or are super well connected
Right.
or are in these like government business jobs. Like we should have that same freedom and mobility to like meet each other and work together if we want to. But yeah.
Wow, okay. This is crazy. Everyone's in the same room too. I love it.
I know. And a really fun thing that Fadesha, her whole project, and like she made these beautiful stickers that was kind of like about the parties, about being nice and trying to explain the concept of safer spaces in bringing that idea around of like how do we actually like show up to the club and how do we work together and it's cool.
Wow. Yeah, so there's a lot of combining of like the art world and the art world, quote unquote art world, especially, speaking of bureaucracy and politics, the art world and also the nightlife world. So I think it's a good time maybe to talk about your research. Shaonan, you have extensive, dense research. If you guys out there haven't got the newest issue of LEAP, I really encourage you to do so because this article is heavy. How many words is this?
5,000, I think. What was that?
5,000 words. And Shanghai Community Radio is very lucky that we have this green chair focused. Yeah, there we go. We have a bit where you're sitting featured in this amongst Asian Dope Boys, All Club, Gareth Williams. Shout out. Also, Martin Goya Business, which I think is a really energetic project that I think you shed a lot of light on that I didn't know about what was going on. Who else am I forgetting?
Yeah, I think
You.
You.
I show the green chairs.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like too big of a topic. I think I opened the issue and I was like, oh my god, like my my title is so long. I'm like going that whole academic vibe, but yeah, I've been trying to kind of get a sense of what's going on with the overlap, and then for sure it's like such a limited time and scope. There are a lot of spaces that I didn't get to cover that I wanted to, like for example the Beijing scene, where I really spent a lot of time in and really felt also a lot of belonging, where I felt a lot of belonging, and also the new really fresh like Shenzhen scene and the Chengdu scene. So yeah, it's kind of just like a attempt, like a first attempt to engage with nightlife in a more kind of art criticism publication. Yeah, you actually get a copy.
But I feel
it's on
like
sale now.
I feel like I think that the way your writing isn't so academic to where I would be like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this like jargon. I feel like you're still approaching it with like a friendly I guess vantage point, and also because you participate in this culture, it's not just like somebody scrutinizing and criticizing how this stuff works. So yeah, I mean, I want to know more about when you say that you feel connected to the Beijing scene. What is the Beijing scene? How are you connected to it? How long have you been up there?
Almost a year. Yeah, I graduated in 2018 from the U.S. and then moved to Beijing in September, and then spent almost like 10 months, 12 months there, and then there's a really vibrant scene there with especially Zhao Dai opened a few months ago before I moved, and then that's pretty much where I spend all the weekends, and just a lot of people coming through and also getting involved with the Nightlife Residency really was amazing. Like it was something that I've always wanted to do throughout like college life. But it was really interesting to also think about it in a research way, because I mean throughout the article I'm sort of always kind of trying to balance between kind of like being an insider and then being kind of like also how do I do like an objective review of how do I convey this to be persuasive instead of just like I love nightlife, this is great, everybody should join nightlife, but I also kind of have to have some arguments and some kind of critical points to be more persuasive. But essentially, I'm just like, I love nightlife and everybody should do nightlife. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, for sure. We all need. It's stressful. It's stressful living here. It's stressful. You need a place to unwind, and I think that was something that we talked about a bit in this article. Is having a place where you can feel back to like your hedonistic pleasures, dancing, like letting loose. I feel like Beijing has a wilder vibe. I don't know if that comes from like having its like punk roots or rock roots there. I don't know if you spent time in any live houses, but that's something I noticed, like just my short time visiting there. I like lived there for like a month or something. But it's interesting now because there's also this new club opening. There's Jiao Dai. There's a lot of new clubs happening that are more catering to avant-garde kind of electronic music, whatever you want to call this, club music. So I feel like a lot of that is changing, like the tone of it.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see too, because there's like new sound systems and people who are touring from Europe or whatever. They're like, our clubs are never this fresh and clean,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to see how this affects infrastructure as well, because now you have like in Woods opening a club, right?
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
Oh, I haven't been.
Next question. No comment.
It's hard to say objectively. I mean, but
How do
at
y'all
least
think about that?
because I haven't been, but it definitely proves a really big interest in the art world, quote unquote, in nightlife, and it shows that it's the traditional. Maybe the traditional art system has, certain limits in a way that this new forms of creativity. Well, not new, but this forms of creativity, and the new kind of energy it's having cannot be accommodated in a traditional museum, so they have to like open a club.
But also maybe we can flip this a little bit. Like, there's no such thing as an art world or a music world. Like, it's all one world. Like, they're not separate. You can't, when you're making music, you're still like a person standing on the same earth, and you can't really like divide these scenes that cleanly the way kind of like an industry would want to. And if you look at like the really amazing creative people, they've always done all of it. Like this idea that you have true. Like a major or a discipline is very artificial at the end of the day. And it's not so much that these like art museums are trying to get into music. Like if you really like, it's always kind of gone together, and it's only kind of recently that people have tried to silo it up. So I think this is actually just kind of like people just being like, no, these categories are stupid. We're just going to do our thing.
Okay. I think, yes, we are all in the same world, unfortunately. We all live on this damn earth. But I would say the difference is economics and where those systems of power come from and where the money comes from. And I think that's why a lot of these, okay, can we still talk about Conceptronica?
Sure.
Does anyone want to talk about Conceptronica in this place?
Which one is worse, like deconstructed club music or Conceptronica?
What's worse? Who knows? Yeah, so there's this article, I guess. Who actually wrote this? Oh, yeah, play some music for us. Thank you. Play some concert. Sam, do you wanna talk a little bit about what this article for people who haven't read it and maybe the bit of the background?
Just do it in Chinese, I guess. Yeah. People can read this in English. Conceptronica 这个词就是来形容一些现在一些电子音乐，因为大多数的一些从钱的来源对于很多像做音乐和一些地下实验性的一些音乐，这个钱都是越来越多的都是来自像艺术馆啊，像艺术机构。所以因为像很多，因为我们现在的那个音乐那个 record industry 应该怎么说中文？这个唱片行业的一些改变嘛，这近20年过来的时候，因为网络啊这样东西发达，所以钱现在越来越多都是不是从像买唱片啊，或者去一些俱乐部啊，或者像什么地方去听这些音乐，而是很多这些艺术家他们的钱都是来自一些艺术机构，然后这样子的话会把很多这样子音乐做一些实验性的一些电子音乐的一些人，他们会慢慢的做一些作品更符合这样子艺术机构的他们的品味啊和想法的东西，所以会改变地下音乐的一种对一种变貌，对，所以有个 Pitchfork 上面差不多1个月前出来一篇文章解释像 Conceptronica 这个想法是个什么东西，然后大多数是从一个经济的一个角度，一个分析角度来看这个东西，然后在想地下音乐会从哪个方向走。因为如果有这样子一种经济压力的话，然后会变得更那个门槛进入这个东西的话会变得越高，因为会变得太academic 应该是太学者化了，像学性化了，对。Anyone thoughts?
对，其实我觉得 Conceptronica 也不是这个东西应该存很久吧，比如说像电子音乐最开始也是从就是怎么说 Academy 里面出来的，对，以前不是大家喜欢说 music concrete 对，应该是放在现在应该就是 Conceptronica 吧，对，差不多应该是
对，过来，对，你赶紧说一下。赶紧说。
对，就是可能我也不知道吧，大家近几年的这个趋势越来越大。 越大了吧，所以说会有这样一个文章，就是但是我觉得可能音乐记者怎么说，就特别喜欢造新词吧，这样会就 label 一些东西，就是觉得这个文章写出来比较对，就比较吸引人吧，因为有新词的话，对。OK， 我发言完毕。
Oh, okay, cool. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on like this whole.
我觉得无所谓吧，真的就是因为就是 no shade to the art writers， 但是这些杂志这些文章根本跟那个艺术家真的没有什么关系，因为那个艺术家他们自己做自己的事，不要管大家叫什么 conceptual 那个给他们起什么名，他们就继续做自己的对想做的事，然后我们那个非盈利机构就是他们想做什么就帮他们做什么。
Wow. Speaking of, wow, that was really dramatic. what we got going on? Yeah, so now we're finally playing that music we said we were gonna play from your first resident.
Who's this?
Bonaventure.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Shaonan, you have any thoughts on this? I feel like this is kind of really up your alley with your recent research, and your LEAP article. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't caught up on that article yet, but my research mostly focuses on like the history in China and how it's the relevant people kind of building it up here, and how it's kind of, my main just as kind of from a point to really document. I mean, I'm also pretty new to the scene, so I'm not able to really make a new argument like maybe the music journalists are doing, but yeah, our writing in a way, if it's not feeding back to the creativity right away, I think at least it's sort of an archive, a critical archive, when people are looking back, when so in a way they can sort of get a glimpse of what's going on at this point from the writer's point of view. So I think kind of that's why I kind of find value in our writing and our criticism, but maybe I haven't really keep up. Can you explain a little bit what Katie?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think for me, my concern would be, like obviously all these economies the economics of the art world and nightlife are kind of converging. I feel like just what I noticed in Shanghai versus other cities, or maybe in mainland China as well, is that for a while it was fashion that was really funding a lot of projects, whether it be like, NTS and Adidas, or like, artists working Shanghai Fashion Week, or people getting sponsored by different brands. Like personally, I felt like there was a really close contact between artists and these young fashion brands because they were both quite young. They're both, in a position where they have a little bit more economic freedom, either, like studying abroad and getting funding through this, or getting like independent funding, or having funding from their parents. So there was a lot of like money being spread very quickly, and because the nightlife in Shanghai is not necessarily as saturated as it would be in like a city like New York or Paris, where people could still get quite good access to these opportunities while still preserving their integrity and not necessarily needing to change their image or whatever. Which is something like you wouldn't see that in New York. It doesn't happen. And now I feel like kind of these new funding is coming from avenues of nightlife. This is just my like very naive vantage point. But being able to, have a show in Woods that is focused on nightlife. So like, it's essentially like what Trance is with Tianzhou. It's quite remarkable and quite, at least for me, new in the sense that it is very much a nightlife project. Regardless that it's like performative or not, or scripted or not. So like having these avenues converge will maybe, I'm not sure, influence how artists and musicians, and like you said though, everyone's already doing everything. Like, you know, Tianzhou's a good example. He's done fashion, he's done painting, he's done sculpture, he's done performance. So everyone's already doing everything. But in terms of who you appeal to, maybe will change, and like maybe people will create or cater their work towards this specific grant or this specific grant. Like, I mean, we do it. This is how we're funding, you know, like we can talk more about that. Like that's how we've had to say this is a film project or art project so that we can survive. So that's kind of my concern is like, what will this do for the image of Nightlife? What will this do in terms of how it's consumable and how it's
fundamentally,
sustainable? Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, cut me off, please. Dear God, I can't stop talking.
No. So fundamentally, the big question is like, who's gonna pay for this, right? And maybe I'll show how old I am. Like my first job out of college was working for Modern Sky, dear old Modern Tiankong, and we were shooting music videos. And a lot of the shows then were sponsored by Ray-Ban. They were sponsored by like whatever that lighter company was, or they were sponsored by Red Bull and places like that. And we've seen it a lot that these brands, like, they switch. They'll be like, okay, now we're supporting music. No, wait, surprise, now we're doing film. Or like, no, now we're doing, like, art. And what really, at the end of the day, happens is, like, they go where the attention is. So if they see that young people are really, like, packing the clubs, then they're going to sponsor some DJs. If they see that everyone's, like, flexing for the gram, they're going to sponsor some fashion people or some influencers. And everyone's kind of chasing the attention. So at the end of the day, the people who decide what gets support is the people who support things. And then these museums, they all need content too. And, you know, they throw a big fundraising gala and they realize that having like speeches or photos isn't as interesting, but if they can have someone perform, then all of a sudden it becomes an event. And I guess my take on all of this is that, like, for us, it's always a matter of finding who's going to give us the right amount of support, like who's really going to care about the ideas and not just want to give the minimum amount of money so they can just get the photo and then move on. And who can we convince to actually, like, you know, give long-term support to any of these scenes. And right now, maybe it's museums. Maybe in the future, everyone pays their taxes and there's like public funding available. Maybe it's gonna be brands. Maybe, you know, it could be lots of places. Maybe it's gonna be governments. Maybe it's gonna be private rich people. And, you know, unfortunately, I mean, me personally, I spend a lot of my time trying to think about this. Like, who's gonna really care enough to be like, yes, you deserve, like, not just one night of good stuff, but like, you deserve to get paid, you deserve salary, but so does the photographer, so does the sound person, so does like every person involved, like whoever's doing the posters, whoever's doing the graphic design, like this whole sphere needs support. And thinking about film, like everyone's unionized, like the prop people, the camera, like all these departments have different kinds of support, and then it's a little more transparent, you know, not 100%, but you raise your funding, you play at film festivals, it gets shown in movie theaters, people buy tickets, it gets shown on a platform like Netflix or something like that. And we're not all as confused over there. And I think the art music scene is always a little bit like, is it gonna be this place? Is it gonna be that place? And yeah, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But yeah, things are kind of shifting right now, as they always are. I'm really excited about, maybe we can talk a little bit about that lovely intersection.
Go for it. Go for the intersection of art and technology. We're all laying face down in this intersection, waiting to die.
Yeah, my turn?
Yeah. What do you think this technology stuff is doing to this?
I mean, I think it's just at a point, I mean, it's never new, right? Art and nightlife intersection, it's always been there with...
Are we talking about technology or are we talking about...
Oh, I thought we were talking about art and nightlife.
I mean, it's all linked.
Okay.
The reason people care about this is because now there's like, you know, shout out to the Billy watchers.
Yeah.
There's new ways for people to find out about this stuff.
Because
Yeah.
of the technologies.
Yeah, I mean, in China especially, right? In China especially.
Even before, like, historically, both is so connected. I mean, if you think of, for instance, Keith Haring, he was not exhibiting his artwork in galleries. He was
Yeah.
exhibiting his work at Studio 54.
Yeah.
So, like, I think these are really great examples of like how art and nightlife was always connected and trying to support each other and making, you know, artists, but then also music stand out. So, definitely technology is like a huge amplifier now. But I feel like that's just another level of it all. But historically, it's always kind of in a way been connected. There's multiples of examples of artists and nightlife being connected historically. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, even going back to the Dada exhibitions was in one of the bar in Zurich, and yeah, I mean, speaking of technology, I think nightlife here is really connected with technology because it hasn't been a natural kind of a scene since the beginning, right? Like in the 90s, it all sort of spread through here. I mean, after Cultural Revolution, there was kind of like a blankness, and then, you know, in the 90s, 80s, 90s, you have a few disco, which is called Hedong, right? And then come through Hong Kong, and then people are using the Daco CDs, and yeah, and then all of a sudden the internet, and then pretty much developed with, like, together with internet, and then people traveling, and then so in a way I feel like also, yeah, nightlife is definitely already mediated in a lot of different ways, and a lot of localizing going on. I don't know. Sorry, what was the question again?
That's a great. I mean, I think one of the fun parts. Back when I was working for Ron Sky, none of the bands had music videos. It was a really interesting era. These really awesome bands like Shinkuzi and Ziwei and stuff. They didn't have a single music video, and so our little ragtag crew would be like, okay, cool. What's your concept? Like, maybe we'll go shoot something at this, Strawberry Festival for you all. And it was really exciting to have these bands start to think of visuals, and their references were amazingly all over the place, because one of them would be like, hey, I'm really into the Beatles and this very obscure Japanese noise band, and for them it was all in the same plane, and they were really open to using all of these influences that they were just hearing about, because it was through Douban or whatever CD they could get, and I think that energy is still really kind of here. People are taking it all in and figuring out how they want to present themselves, and they're not so worried about who is famous or who's trying to do what. And I love that in your article you really kind of go back to what is this history, how did this scene form, and it didn't just pop up overnight 2 years ago. It's been decades in the works, and that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe what we mean is instead of the intersection of art and technology, it's the intersection of art and resources. And I think that's what's so interesting about nightlife that I get from a lot of touring DJs who come through, or even just new kids hanging out. These clubs are new and fancy, bruh. These clubs have what we're talking about technology. These are outfitted with LED screens of really high DPI quality. They have amazing. There's we don't even print posters anymore. You know what I'm saying? Everything is fully digital. We have amazing sound systems that are either may or may not be used properly. But in terms of resources and what is given to us, I think that is a good point, because it's kind of what we talked about a bit too. It's comparable to a gallery, the level of visual production, bruh, is crazy. People are making 20-second video posters that could take, I don't know, weeks or months to produce for a party. And to me, I think.
Speaking of.
Yo, what do we got? Okay, hold on, here it comes.
We got some pretty cool.
Yeah, speaking of, this is produced by also a 3D artist that we love so much called Fluff Lord. Yeah, and Kira's. Are you not wearing socks?
No, they're 拖鞋. 擦鞋, they're in the house.
If you want to buy these, you can. And they've been used. We're selling
these are
used
right
Toshia. Where's Narja? He's gone, but he would definitely shout out the feet pics.
And these are coming back to New York with me for the Internet Yamaichi. Speaking of art,
Oh, yeah,
internet,
definitely.
and whatever.
Segue.
Plug. Which is an internet flea market, and we have lots of amazing luxury internet radio slippers.
That's a good byline, right? What do y'all think about this byline?
Yeah. Speaking of resources, like one of the ways that people can support is with these beautiful demon skull feet thingies.
Yeah.
Yo, that's why she's our mom. See how she did that? She's like, y'all need to pay y'all's bills. I'm not giving you any more allowance. Bless you. Yeah, you want to talk about Yamaichi? I think that's like such a cool thing. Actually, I can't Google them right now, so I have some issues going on here. But
Their website's
how do you?
wild.
Their website is closed?
No, it's just really all over the place.
Oh yeah, I want to see it.
It's cool. But
Yeah, I think it's really
You
amazing.
can get it out?
Here, what's happening is when this, like, young or like innovation meets manufacturing, because you know China has always been the factory of the world for so long, and then now you have all these big brands making all their clothes here, and then there's such a strong like infrastructure for making stuff pretty much, and then when people come back and then or people like grow up and they have this new idea, and then it's actually really cheap to realize. Like for example, I just think in general like technology and manufacturing and fashion can become really cheap here because people just kind of go through big brands and find where their factory is and then like make really good quality stuff out of that. So I think that's
quick segue plug to my other life. If any of you are curious of where all of this stuff gets traded through, I've been working with this really amazing director, Jessica Kingdon, and she filmed this 10-minute short documentary in Yiwu, which isn't far from here, which is actually the world's biggest wholesale market, where all of these fidget spinners and, you know, meme objects actually within a couple days go from someone has this idea and it's like a selfie stick. No one can even trace back who designed this in the first place, but within a week it'll be worldwide because we're in the nexus of production. And of course it's really surreal to realize that these widgets that maybe we don't need but are all just kind of circulating through here. And yeah, everything just moves at such a different speed. But yeah, if you're interested in
Shout out to capitalism.
Yeah. If you want to go see some accelerated capitalism, go check out Commodity City online. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly, this is where everything's happening, whether we like it or not. And being here and seeing it firsthand is super key and obviously informs a ton of what everyone's doing. I'm going to take my feet off the table.
Oh, got nothing else to show. Here's Yamaichi's website.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, also I do want to say that like in terms of production, it's opened my eyes and like with making these slippers. That was such a fun project to work on that we keep talking about. But a lot of people were like, "How did this get produced? Can you make something for me?" Nah. Like no, this is
limited
some
edition
big trade secrets. But yeah, so yeah, you're gonna be popping up in Yamaichi, which I will put this back up on the screen. These are some people I wanted to collaborate with for a while, actually. I think this project is super interesting. How did you guys link?
I don't remember.
So this is you here.
Yeah, so Sembo, click on that one. Click on that link to their website.
The yellow thing?
For the, yeah.
The whole thing.
We actually first did it a couple years ago with a different project I run with two wonderful friends, Seb and Kat, called Rivet, which is Rivet, rivet.es, which is actually another platform that links all the different grants and opportunities and residencies worldwide, and you can sort by how much money they give you. So if you're a young budding creative out there trying to find some support for your work, go check out that website. But we did Yamaichi as a very like mom type project where we had people come and tell us what they wanted to do, and we would sort of give them this card with like 5 or 6 ways that they could go do it. And then this year they're in New York again, and they hit us up and asked if we wanted to do it. And China Residencies has our first ever exhibition up called Meme Tactics. And we were like, hey, we want to have meme related things. And they were like, yeah, come on over.
Do kids like memes?
They do.
The kids do like
These
memes.
memes.
How is this show? Who are the memers you have?
The memers are an amazing group of artists from Nicaragua, Cuba, China, all over the place. And we think that they work in really interesting ways, and that their work is meme-like in that they are trying to get ideas to spread a lot faster, and they're using open source ways of creating a project that people can remix and run with to amplify the message they're trying to get across. And yeah.
But they're not like Instagram memers.
Some of it could be, but they're more like keeping that meme ethos and to get around whatever's in their way.
Yeah. I think meme shows are interesting, but it's hard to exhibit them because this is something we just want to look at on our phone like before we pass out and like infinity scroll through. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of challenges within that, like making something digital and two-dimensional into this like tangible thing. How do you guys work within that scope?
Maybe I'll just tell you about some of the projects. Amy So, who's an amazing artist, realized that there was this really amazing thinker in China back in 1907 called He Yinzhen. And she was like, hey, how come no one knows about her work? What if I make cool streetwear that has a QR code in it, that if people like the streetwear and think it's cool, they'll download the QR code, and that'll actually just download a PDF of this article onto their phone. So she's kind of using this tactic of like, you know, Shenjai knockoff Off-White to be like, hey, let's get these like kids interested in this article that I think they should read. Yeah, so ideas like that. But if you're in Philadelphia between now and August, or if you're in New York for Yamaichi, come find us. And if not, check out. It's all on the website.
Sick. Nice. Speaking of, is there anyone that you saw, either of you, that you saw during Art Week that was noteworthy? Any noteworthy shows? Any noteworthy parties? Spectacle? How is Art Week? Is it weak? Art Week is weak? Is it strong? How many Art Weeks do we have left in the world?
I've heard this year is especially big for some reason. Like 2 years ago, there weren't so many big names.
Shout out to Sam who put on this noise track. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, our third parties were never really fun parties, no? Or I went to 3 parties on Friday and was like, disappointed. You know, it's just always so interesting. There are parties where you go where you feel replenished, and then there are parties that you go where you feel exhausted.
So what is your Art Week party after party survival guide? What is it? Do you do because there's like things that need to happen during these parties. You have to network.
Yeah.
You have to I did them once. I don't do this shit anymore. God, no. No one wants me at these fucking parties. Y'all don't want me there. I don't want to be there. It's fine. Yeah, sure. It's on this track. Nobody. Speaking of awkward, no, but I know that there's like things that you have to do, right? You have to network. You have to talk about what you're doing, and you have to ask people what they're doing. You have to be interested, and you also have to be smart. You have to look very academic, and you have to say the like right things. And so, what are your you personally, Shaonan?
Yeah.
Tell me how to do it.
I mean, I'm clumsy. I'm like just starting and saying the wrong shit and being the super anxious the second day. But yeah, I'm never really good at this. But Yeah, I mean, there was a good party on Saturday with the Asian Doughboys. It was really fun. They had this, I think, Mongolian musician and as part of the performance, and then just like in the middle of like a trap music, he started doing this Mongolian singing, and that was amazing because
Really?
it's always usually in this
I can
yeah
play it.
yeah.
Who was
Video
that?
off my phone.
I think someone who was Khan. What's his name?
Oh,
Yeah.
with Eva.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
'cause-
what they were doing together.
Yeah, the kind of
That's
music
sick.
is always kind of usually under a very Han gaze from the kind of majority Han kind of, oh, this is ethnic minority music, and then that's how it like sounds like. But then when he does it in a club and then combine, it's like in the middle of a trap music set, and then that was really like mind blowing.
If you want to hear some terrible phone audio,
Yeah.
you can hear this.
Can it even play? What kind of phone is this, Kira?
It is.
No, I think she's proud of this. This is how mom shows her pictures of her kids.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nice.
Yeah.
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then,
That was a great party.
Mhm,
That
and
was
then-
a like out till past mom's bedtime party.
All right,
Yeah.
shout out to my FOMO.
It's hard. I mean, I think one of the things that we found kind of interesting is like, as much as these, you know, gallery people and art collectors want to party, they don't necessarily get into it the way we do, and it sometimes can get a little awkward. And so I think like part of the thing that makes it rough is the gatekeeping. Like if you only want the VIPs there, you're gonna have 5 people at your party, and if you want it to be a fun party, the people who want to come to the show have to be able to come to the show. And so I think the part that gets a little bit awkward for everyone is them being very like guest listy, and we're like, all right, if you want to do that, your own party is going to suffer from it. And I think that mentality is kind of interesting, that people would rather have only the right people at the expense of having a good party.
Is this how you ask for guest list?
What? Yes, this is my trade secret. Be like, yo, your party will suck unless
Hey,
you're
I just
here.
wrote the thesis about why I should have guest lists.
Are you on the list? No, we're here to turn the party up.
We're here to burn your guest list.
Your party fucking sucks. Yo, what's worse, an art week party or a fashion week party?
Oh.
Who knows?
I don't know, we're not invited to any.
Yeah. We're just here to,
What's the group consensus? What do y'all think? What's worse, an art week party or a fashion week party? Why?
At least people are cute at a fashion party.
Ooh. Ooh, why? Why though? You have
I don't know, people. I feel like, oh god, people would kill me after I say this, but I feel like after Art Week, people still need to keep a straight face and party. But like after Fashion Week, people just want to get wasted, so that's fun.
Ooh.
the real tea.
She said no one dances in either of them, so why do you care? True. Good point. Yeah, okay. That's good. All right, I want to keep this going. Let's talk more about not the club and and the radio. So this is where we get like very self-referential with this show and why it's called MegaMix, because we want to mix up everything. And yeah, so I want to talk more about basically our role with you guys, and then also more radios happening in China.
Yeah.
Super big shout out to Chengdu Community Radio.
Woo!
And already like other radios like Cloak is also located in Chengdu. Shout out to Cloak Radio. It's also,
Shout out to Chongqing Radio.
yeah, Chongqing. Yes, definitely. There's maybe some stuff happening in Beijing. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. I've heard some stuff. I don't know how
How's-
it's working.
How's Hong Kong community radio doing?
Oh, hold on. Let me get the
Great.
camera back on.
Yeah.
What was that? Oops. What the hell?
Yeah, I wonder how Hong Kong Community Radio, they also been really active, right? Or are they?
Yeah,
Are
like
you guys
that.
in
Those
touch?
that's our parents, our big brother, basically. That's our big brother. Yeah, for sure. It's Hong Kong Community Radio. Wouldn't you say? Yeah, and yeah, obviously. I mean, I don't know how much we can talk about everything going on, but maybe not at all. But yeah, they're still very active, and I went down there 2 months ago, and checked in with Gavin and went to his party. He also has a record label too, called Absurd Tracks, so you should check that out if you don't know. But yeah, like back to what I was saying about Chengdu Community Radio, it's good to see. It's really good to see, and I actually don't know. A lot of people came to the studio and were like, "Did you guys do that? You opened it? Congratulations!" It's like, no, bro, this is not a franchise.
Not a franchise, yeah.
No, it's not a franchise. This is just like if you're crazy enough and you want to expend a lot of energy, you can do this. Anyone can do this if they're like insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I met Kai Shandao online. And I don't know her, but I know of her like through other people. Sorry. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry. Definitely. I was gonna get to that because I don't know the team either, but I do see this person, Eamon, around as well. And I look forward to meeting them and knowing more about this.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
I just wanted to know as well because that's what everyone. Oh shit. Everyone asked us too, like who's starting this? Where are you from? Is like the second question.
Mm-hmm.
Like you making a community in my hood? Like, is this your hood? You know what I mean? And like that's what I was saying. Like when I looked at Kai Shandao's 朋友圈, it says like 有一点 ABC 的感觉. Like, and I want to talk maybe a little bit more about this. Like, yeah, that's what it says in quotes. So either maybe somebody's like said this to them or whatever. But I think that was something that happened a lot when we started this. Is people was like, okay, but where are you from? Like, what's your hood? Like, and I get it. It's important to be respectful if you're in another place, and it's important to be careful like what names you're using and if you are really including a community. And that's a question I had too for people who were wanting to start other radios in other cities that I won't mention, but they were saying like, you know, I was like, make sure you stay local. But how much of this, I mean, this is something even me and Maria have talked about, like how much of your local, like how local can you be? What does that mean? You have like certain authority, even if you did live here your whole life. Do you have more authority than another person of that city? How do you represent a city? I don't know. These are questions for the group. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but I do think you guys with China Residencies, you do bring a lot of quote unquote foreign artists or foreigners or immigrants, however we want to call this, people from outside lands into China to participate in this landscape. And also, you know, we have to have a certain sensitivity about that.
For sure.
In terms of our role and our responsibilities and our authority. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, right now our crystal resident in Xiamen is actually Zhou Yichen. She's from here. We've never officially been like, I think this division around like who's foreign, who's local, obviously is really important for visa stuff, but we've always supported artists from here, from the Chinese diaspora, and from overseas. Our open calls are blind, so people send in a proposal and we actually don't know their name or where they're from. We read only their idea, and we accept proposals in Mandarin and in English. So we get a whole bunch of proposals and the jury is the one who kind of narrows it down. And if you kind of look, we always publish all the finalists, and there's always like a really big mix of people. But obviously, yeah, I mean, I'm very white and here and from the States by way of France and further back, like Hungary and Russia and countries that don't exist anymore. And it's a huge question of like, who has the privilege to be able to do this? Who gets to travel? Who gets to, do this kind of stuff? And like we were saying earlier, who has access to the funding and the resources to be able to do these kinds of projects? So that's huge. But thinking about like, I think these radio projects a lot of times get started from people who aren't from the place. Like thinking about like the Lot Radio in Brooklyn is started by French people. The like
Oh yeah, that's
like
true.
a lot of I think the people who have an impulse to start projects tend to be from somewhere else. One of my favorite like way back linguistic theories of like who even figured out Chinese characters is that it's mostly nomadic people. It's like probably people who are from Mongolia or Inner Mongolia now who started a set writing system, even though if you really look into the literature, people think it's like, no, it must have been the landed people who did that. I think a lot of innovation comes from people who are outside a set thing. But that's just my personal take on stuff. And in terms of like who should start these projects, I think the main thing is just sort of like listen, see what people want, hear the feedback. If everyone's like, hey, get out, you're doing it wrong, then leave and get out and stop. You know, like that's a huge thing is sort of like paying attention and seeing like what the scene needs and working with people who have been there. The best residencies we work with are collaborations. It's like people who have been in a place for a long time, plus people from the outside. And then those ones are the ones that have lasted, 20 years. The ones that are fully like local can sometimes be kind of close-minded, and the ones that are fully foreign fail super quickly. And so I think in terms of longevity, it kind of needs to be these really deep collaborations that are paying really attention and being really respectful and learning from the places they're in and adding to it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've also had quite a circular path.
Oh yeah, I mean, having worked in a residency project before, and I think there are resident artists who really have a hard time kind of coming here, and then and ends up being kind of not really sensitive. But I think the really productive way, even just artistically, is sort of to see kind of difference as opportunities for. That's anyway the artists that I really get along with are the people who really kind of see these cultural challenge, ideological challenge as a source of creativity, a sense of like a source of inspiration, and I really see them doing amazing work, whether like compared to artists who who's really insensitive about power dynamics and cultural history and all that. And I think Nightlife is, we also talked about in the essay, Nightlife is a really good place for cultural exchange, right? And a lot of people come through it, and you have this dialogue, whether through music or through language, and then learn about sort of what's not talked about in the media, right? And I think with music, especially electronic music, because it doesn't really have words, and the language barrier is sort of less of a boundary in electronic music. And even though it's like it has a history in mostly kind of Europe and America context, but here people also taking it up and then making their own ways into it, and then bringing it out there. And then I don't know, we talked about this, right? You were hosting South African artists, and you guys talked about the Chinese presence there also, and right, and which is something that like I didn't think about like how much it would be.
And one of the most amazing residencies we work with is in it's Lijiang Studio, and they're
It's not us.
What?
It's not us.
You're not a residency yet. You're our favorite radio. We love all the radios.
Sorry.
But Lijiang Studio in Yunnan is a long-term collaboration with the Nashi family farm, and the projects they've hosted have really kind of changed how people think about both like rural life and also how many cultures exist within China. It's the opposite of a monolith, even though people would like to think it that way. It's like it's so important for us to also really talk about who's always been here and who's always had a different writing system, a different language. I mean, it's amazing being in Shanghai and hearing how many people still speak Shanghainese, and really like the people we've worked with who were able to spend a lot of time there, I think that's the kind of exchange that we're interested in. It's a lot more nuanced and complex than just like, hey, China's exciting. And like Bufu, who I was mentioning earlier, like they've been filming this really expansive interactive documentary where like they filmed in like Chinese factories in Ethiopia, they filmed in Jamaica, they filmed in Japan, they filmed in Guangzhou with the really amazing growing West African trade networks and people who are setting their roots down there. And they've also filmed, I mean, kind of just like how this works in the diaspora and like who was forced to move, who moved for like, you know, financial reasons, for labor reasons. And we're interested in people who really dig into the how and why. Like one of the films that we're showing the screening in the Caribbean films is in Trinidad, and about how there's both this long history of people of Chinese descent in Trinidad, because after slavery was abolished and people couldn't traffic people from Africa to the US to do free labor, they started importing indentured workers from China. And there's people who've been in Trinidad for generations who now don't have much connection with China, but all of a sudden, because of the Belt and Road Initiative, there's new immigrants from China who are arriving there and meeting these people of Chinese descent. And like that is something that there's just so much there to think about and to really wonder, like, you know, how did these things happen? And yeah, who gets to go back and forth? And so, I mean, obviously New York is a place where all of that is super relevant. And so, yeah, I think the answer is obviously it's complicated and we all need to think about the different layers of who's been where and why and how they got there and who was there by choice and who was there because they had to be.
Wow, yeah, okay. I wanted to say something, but it's never going to top that. So I just think, I don't know, there's a lot. Even just the fact that we're using English on this platform is something to note that I personally feel guilty for. And
you can switch anytime.
Okay, go for it. Ready? Are you ready?
But I think also, like when
Shaonan, can you?
I mean, one of the points.
Can you
I also
switch
wanted
your
to,
language, please?
No, because I think also it's also a weird thing to kind of imagine China as this ultimately really different place. You know, especially in nightlife, I think, you know, I think you guys had the discussion with Han about Orientalism in sound, right? Like, what is Chinese sound when you make Chinese electronic music? Does it have to be like, like what he said, like, you know, right? And so, but then they're also just making electronic music, right? And then I think with my interview with Gaz, and apparently like people are starting to book because, you know, they're just good electronic music. They like, I think artists are starting to say that they're not really getting booked because they are like Chinese electronic music, but they're good Chinese electronic music. And I think that's really also a thing with this kind of cultural difference. It's like the fine balance between the power dynamics of like, this kind of like, that's also, I feel like it's maybe okay, like, you know, in Shanghai to use Shanghai community radio to when you speak English and when you know, it is sort of like a cosmopolitan city. And yeah, but then at the
fight.
I was gonna shout out to this track, which I'm pretty sure is Kayla Brie right now. Is that? And Kayla is an amazing artist and VR filmmaker whose heritage is both Prairie Band, Potawatomi, Indigenous, Native American, and Taiwanese, Indonesian. And a lot of her films, like she has a great TED Talk, and she plays both like the guzheng and like she's a phenomenal musician and artist. And I think she really kind of she was part of this program we did called Found Sound, which was a collaboration between American artists and Chinese artists. And so 6 of them spent all summer going to different parts. And she was working with Cha-Cha, Yahan, and both of them went to Guizhou, and like their collaborations were phenomenal. And yeah, just shout out to both of them. They're wonderful people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard when you work from a post-colonial kind of background to how do you assert your nativity without being fed into the Orientalist gaze, you know. And I think it's definitely something that I see a lot of really new or electronic music just from observing, you know, a lot of new electronic music are doing. It's like they are able to really engage with this power dynamic without, I mean, I think some of the strategy is almost like a self-exotification in a very sarcastic way, and then and a lot of it is like really engaging it with a very new sound, like on the top of my head, like Alicia Crampton, and yeah, and I think that's really amazing that is happening in like electronic music. It's especially sound like music is such a coded way of culture or power dynamics and difference, and yeah.
I mean, a note on the English. I think we both answer in whatever language people speak to us in. Yeah, I mean, we actually share a good, like, either English and French and Chinese, and it's like whatever people are most comfortable in is kind of fascinating. But we both also did our, like, schooling for university in English, and so I think, unfortunately, there is a lot of, like, English supremacy out there that is tied to, good old British Empire and colonialism, that, like, we're still grappling with the fact that the languages we were formed in are the ones that come most easily to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy to switch it up.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we can switch it up. We can mix it in.
Yeah. I don't know. I think those are all really good assessments. I think for me, just my concern is always like running community projects. How reflective are you within the community, and who are you actually serving? Because at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's always just about power, and who you serve.
Shout out to your survey though. If you haven't filled out the survey yet,
should we take some quotes from the survey? Yo, this survey was really fun. We did this for another project that will be released later. And wink wink. Let me see if I can pull it up here on my phone. I sent it around. It's like in so many of my chats. Let me find it. Okay, dead air. Sorry. Yeah, okay, I found it. This is the community feedback form, so it's letting me take it. Why I can't see the answers, dude? Okay, but there's like anyway, I think it was super helpful. About 70 people filled this out, which is quite big to me, at least. So here's the results. We asked people like, where do you listen to this? When do you listen to it? How did you find out about the radio? Again, this goes back into what I was saying, being really self-referential, because this is feedback, and now I'm giving feedback on a feedback, so this is like a feedback loop, right? Yeah, but I think one of the most important questions is have you ever witnessed our technical failure? No, I'm just kidding. That was a good question, right?
You had to put that one in. That was your question.
Yeah, that was my question, because like we just fuck shit up all the time, or whatever. Mercury's in retrograde like all the time. But the result is 65% of people said no, they have never seen our technical failure. So that means they don't watch the show. Yeah, the early days for sure. Where is the question? What does community mean to you? Let me see. I'm scrolling through this shit. Yeah, what does community mean to you? A network of shared resources and support. Do you want to read some of these?
对，我来读一下哦。是部分的，有一些说是朋友之间的感情和陪伴，还有是说to learn about, nurture and support people in your surroundings， 然后还有是 a network of shared resources and supports， 还有是说社区应该是一个有影响力的生态圈，不仅仅是小群体之间的多项连接，它应该超越这个寓意，成为凌驾在空间限制上的一种共识。Yeah, that's quite interesting. It's like that person was saying like it doesn't need to be physically in the same place. Yeah, it can be like in the same community even if we don't live in the same city. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so good. Yeah. Yeah, just like localization or localization. Yeah. Okay, and also 我们有就是也弄了几个搞笑的问题吧。
yeah, okay.
就是比如说是你还相信中华未来主义吗？Do you still believe in Sino-futurism?
Somebody said something
like-
about Lawrence Left. Like in the comments.
Let me see. Okay, so 34.4% of people saying what the fuck is Sino-futurism. 32.8% of people said yes, I still believe in Sino-futurism. Okay, 9.4% saying no, I don't. 23.4% saying like I don't really care.
Yeah, shout out to the CCRU on that one. Yeah, thank you, Dee. I think that was really interesting to learn about the question about like what the fuck is Sino-futurism also comes from that talk that Swimful, Jamie, and Goose had, because that was a soundbite from Goose or Han that kind of went a little bit, carried its own legs for a bit. But yeah, that's another kind of question related to autonomy and community, etc. Because that also is a notion that, I mean, I understand why you would say it's like a Shanghai kind of notion, but
it's a post-colonial discourse because the term comes from the West. Like it's a term that was invented by, if I'm not wrong, by Needham, which is an English physicist who worked a lot in China at the time because he had a few students over at Cambridge when he was still teaching there. And then later on, Lawrence Leck, this artist, kind of coined the term more accurately, I would say, in his art. But ultimately, it's a very post-colonial idea of how to see China. And that's why I guess I have a bit of a issue with that. But then also, like, it's been a really huge discourse that's been discussed a lot in Shanghai. I think Anna Greenspan wrote a lot of articles about it, for instance. And there's even, like in Germany, there's a book that is completely dedicated to ethnofuturism. It's not just Sino-futurism, but also Gulf futurism and Afrofuturism. But like ultimately, I feel like that's very post-colonial. There's very post-colonial notions to it, which I find problematic sometimes, maybe. But yeah.
Yo, I mean, that's, yeah, thank you. Happy to also have you here in the studio, Carmen. But I think, let me find, where's the stat for that? Sino-futurism. Sorry, I lost it. I need to change the camera. Oops. Okay. But I think that's why, thank you. That's why we put that in there. It's because there's people who don't know much about it, because to me the conversation was not accessible to local people, right? Like that's what was like also so troublesome about it, is that, I mean, I'm extremely guilty of the same thing right now, but literally having a talk that was only in English about
我们会写文章，中文。
Yeah, the amazing defont, always merging everything together. But yeah, I think that was my biggest issue with that. And it's like people don't even know about what this concept is because it's not been even addressed to them. I don't know. Do you guys, anyone else have something to say about this? I feel like so sensitive about these kind of topics as a foreigner.
No, I think it's been shown at UCCA before, right? It's been.
You say what?
It's been showing at UCCA with like.
Oh yeah.
before.
I mean, what did you think about that?
The
Lawrence Leck piece.
the video essay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I read it 2 years ago. I don't really remember it.
Yeah, that's what we also wanted to ask. Do you still believe in this? It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Did the future come true?
I mean, I think the acceleration is still happening. No, 6G is being talked about already, and
6G.
yeah, but but yeah, I'm not so sure if it's more leaning toward the, I don't know, Afrofuturism where it seems a bit more, or the Gulf futurism where it's like there's so much criticism about questions of like labor and all that, right? Like I don't know which way it's leaning towards the more, yeah, I don't know, haven't really reviewed.
I feel like this whole idea of the future, especially in this term, is a very neoliberal idea also, because like it always implies this idea of like you can become everything you want, which is ultimately a very neoliberal idea of who to be, you know, like this understanding of I can do whatever I want, but only in neoliberal terms, and that's why I think in many ways it's a very Western term, like just simply the idea that this term is not originated in China, but it had to be translated from someone who coined the term in the West, already shows that this has a very, very post-colonial idea in its core.
Yeah, I guess another part of it is that like Afrofuturism, at least like that's probably like the first like kind of like ethnic futurism, kind of like non-white kind of futurism that came to be, and that was mostly defined by Black people, like in the like African diaspora. Whereas xenofuturism is like a term that it kind of has this. It leans more towards a stereotype as opposed to dispelling a stereotype, where you know how like Asian people are seen as like, you know, especially with like Japan in the 80s and stuff like that, where it was like, oh, you know, like kind of like the roboticization of Asian bodies and stuff like that in terms of either not even just like labor and not even just like, you know, production, but also just labor in general. So there's always just this weird undertone of like what's the goal of this kind of term, you know, is this necessary?
Maybe just one thing to add, because I really love that you mentioned Japan also, because I think that's also one like a really important kind of prehistory of this whole term, that like a lot of ideas like about Japan were definitely also coined by the West, like this whole romanticism about Japan, like this cultural romanticism about it, and then like completely stepping away of its political responsibilities that it would or should have after the Second World War, which it didn't really have, because geopolitically it already belonged to the West. So, you know, you had to portray it in a way that it was like this cultural place where people do tea ceremonies every day. Like, there's a lot of transfigurations that are made in the West about East Asia. And I guess that's, kind of frustrating me sometimes also.
So how can you comment this? I mean, you yourself, do you still live in?
I live partly in Berlin, where I do my PhD, and then partly here. And I do a lot of research also about like Sinofuturism and like ideas of future, which I find like a lot of the ideas that are talked about in Sinofuturism are found in like with historians like Koselleck or other philosophers and historians. So. Yeah, what
Sorry, I just mean like in terms of like on the ground actually.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really something very important to me, because like for instance, like I think we're really kind of more sensitive when it comes to like if we're asked to do interviews, for instance, and like a lot of like one of the main questions we get very often is, okay, so what's specifically Chinese about electronic music? We talked about this earlier also, Shaonan, where I thought, yeah, that's very interesting, because I usually, when I get this question, I refuse to answer, because that's a very, very post-colonial approach to things. Like, don't ask me this question, because it's not like American or European artists are never asked what's European about their electronic music.
Right.
So be careful how you ask questions, because it definitely has a very romantic idea of what what it means to ask about electronic music in the so-called East. Because the so-called East only exists because the so-called West exists. Like the idea of Asia, like the term Asia itself, only emerged because of a colonialism. It never existed before. It only exists because of a historic colonialism.
Yeah.
Sam, go Sam. Go.
Even like the word in English, Europe, it denotes like EU, like that suffix means good. And then like term Africa, Asia, all these things are meant as a way to kind of other different populations. And it's very arbitrary, the difference between Asia and Europe as a continent. I mean, they're completely linked. And even like, in America, like defining who was white, it was always shifting these national country borders slowly and slowly. Like at one point, like it was like, okay, anything west of Armenia is white, and like everything east of Armenia is Asian. So just kind of like it serves a goal of exactly what you're saying in terms of.
Do you want to change language?
Let's get Defun can write this up later.
I mean, this is my issue with this. It's like I can go into this kind of dialogue, but in terms of accessibility, I'm still not there. Personally, that's me, and that's me, and that's my issue personally, and I don't want that to also reflect this project either, because that's not the role of this project. So, that's another reason why this is my first time ever showing my face on this radio, because I don't want this to be a representation of what this community actually is, because it is so much more, and it's so much more compounded with people living elsewhere, living here their whole lives, going elsewhere, having interests in other things, and and also kind of just going back to what this survey says, is that a community can exist in its own kind of island that floats and has no locale. So maybe that's the answer. I don't know what's the answer. Just party and have a good time, everyone. Please. I just want to, speaking of, I want to also just kind of issue an open call for the next one of these episodes, if we do decide to do this again, if it's not a burning fucking failure. But I really appreciate that you all are also in the studio and willing to chime in, and of course our amazing guests. But if for the next episode, if anyone would like to be a guest on this, we would like to kind of talk about internal things that go on in this space and in this city, and of course like having a little bit of like behind the scenes sneak peek of how this shit actually sails. And also I want, if anyone would like to submit a send-in mix that doesn't live in the city and is unable to be on the show and in the studio, we also would love to welcome that, and so that we don't have to play music from our own laptops. Are there any other, I want to turn this back to you guys, are there any other like last things you want to note, last things you want to plug? Obviously, like, please pick up LEAP. How do people order the magazine?
On WeChat, on the LEAP WeChat, you can search LEAP. And then, yes.
Yeah, send the link in the big group.
You should get it now, and if you don't get it, you'll get it. And no, I'm just being out Taobao 直播. But yeah, it's support local art criticism also, because otherwise we have just foreign international criticism coming in, and that's all I wanted to say.
Support your local arts administrators. Support the back end.
Yo, tell us about a dumpling party.
Oh shit! At some point this winter we have a big dumpling party in New York. But there's also, anyone can host a satellite dumpling party if you want.
Tell us what is the dumpling party? What does it do?
It started very early that we, my dear, lovely departed friend Crystal that I started this project with, very early on went to Nebraska and was trying to explain like what the point of all of this was, and the easiest way she found in the most universal thing was just dumplings, because super easy to teach, brings everyone together. It's like a collective project. It's super delicious. That's really fun. And so we started doing a dumpling party, back in 2013. And it's grown over the years. Last year was a beautiful concert with actually the found sound artists. So Yahan and MC Ting Pudong and Eddie and Kayla all played a show before they went to South by Southwest during the biggest snowstorm we've had in New York in a long time. But yeah, it's a great gathering. We showcase kind of all the stuff we did in the last year. And it's a fundraiser. So if any of you want to donate and support the lovely work we do and all the amazing networks of networks that have spawned from this, ChinaResidencies.org/donate.
Yeah,
that will be my plug for the night. Support the radio, support the artists, support the parties. Keep it going, pass it on.
Anything else?
Now we're good.
What did you buy for Shuangxi? Last thing I want to know.
Oh, damn, I didn't buy anything.
You didn't buy anything?
Nothing, but get a slipper.
Yeah, Shuangxi at Yamaichi in Brooklyn. Is it in Brooklyn?
No, it's on Worcester Street in Manhattan.
It's in Manhattan. Okay. Yeah, do that. Last thing behind. If you're watching this, you can see some clips of. Let's see, what was that number? Let's see, 6. Yeah, you can see clips of past shows. I want to use this opportunity to also plug our archive. So make sure that if you're listening to this, you also tune in to other things going on. We have interviews, mixes from people who've passed through our studio. This is a clip of an interview that you can also tune into. Andrew Thomas Wong. Tune in on Bilibili by clicking the link in our Instagram bio, which is SHCRAD.io. Tune in live. It's way more fun. It's so much more fun.
And shout out to Zhao Dai.
Shout out to Zhao Dai, definitely. Any last words you want to say?
Featuring.
No, we're good. Enjoy Beijing. Thank you, everybody, for
shout
your
out to
vibe.
SHCR.
SHCR 加油!
We love you, everyone. Okay, good night. Bye, bitches.